Good afternoon, my dear student. In the previous class, we have discussed about the basic idea of the extraction of the metal or metallurgy. And on that day, I promised with you that we will discuss the extraction of a metal by taking a particular example so that it will be very clear that the basic idea that you have obtained or gathered will be checked in this extraction of the metal. Here for this I take example the copper as example because in your syllabus it is observed that the metallurgy related to the copper is very important, and the question come into your semester examination is very frequent from this extraction of copper. And another thing that is, yes, in general, that is the extraction of the copper is play an important role in our industry, and yes, again it carry an important in metallurgy because copper is very useful element. So here student, I am Dr. Vishwajit Gayan, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry from Dr. Sudhit Chandrasoor Institute of Technology and Sports Complex. So here today in my lecture I will elaborately describe the total procedure of extraction of the metal from its ore. Clear? So I hope you understand my aim, that is extraction of the metal copper from its ore. Now we have already known about the important ore of copper. So first is copper pyrite, or sometimes it is called chalcopyrite, that is CuFeS2, and another is the copper glans, that is Cu2S. So all are in the form of sulfide. So these are the picture of different ores of copper, and they are so much colorful. Basically the copper and other ore are sometimes become colorful due to their different composition and their crystalline nature in nature, or basically present in our earth surface. Depending on the pressure, crystal nature and environment, the color will be defined. So now if we summarize, or first if we make a roadmap of the extraction of the copper, then it will be like this. So first you have to take the copper ore of copper, then you have to follow the first step, that is concentration of the ore. Then you have to follow the roasting. You know that what's the meaning of roasting. Then smelting. You have already know the process of smelting or the meaning of smelting. Then basemerization, that is, this is actually basically the part of the reaction in furnace, that is it at high temperature. Then ultimately the refining. So it will be completed, the extraction of the copper will be completed in five main steps. First step is the concentration, second step is the roasting, third step is the smelting, fourth step is the basimarization, and last step is the refining. So if you look into the example of the ore of copper, then you are seeing that most of the copper ores are of the salt of sulfide. So basically most of the sulfide salt. So copper is mainly extracted from its sulfide salt or ore by smelting. We'll discuss the process smelting in details, obviously. So now the first stage, that is concentration. So here in this copper we first crushed or grind the ore in a finely particle and is concentrated by pour and flotation process. So student, I request you to go to the details about the pour and flotation process, that is use of some oil and soap, and then the ore or metallic ore will be separated out, then concentrate the chances of metal in the material. Then if you want to know the details, then is the process like this, that is your crushed ore is suspended in water or basically add to the water, then it is mixed well, then little amount of the pine oil is added, then you supply some air, it's passed through the suspension, then the particle mix with the oil, and float as a port which is skimmed. So here the ore finely divided particle will be tapped into the oil and they are floated in the surface, and from that we will collect that floated material and will get a higher percentage of the copper in the material. So and the impurity that is gone sink to the bottom. So here by this float and flotation process or by concentration process, we can remove lots of impurity in the first stage. So this is the process of pour and flotation. So here we simply take the water, then we add the ore, finely divided ore. So after mixing and supplying of the air, then we'll get this picture, that is sulfide ore in the surface, then that is impurities in the lower surface. So ultimately we'll be get benefited by concentration process, that is the concentration of the copper is increases in the sample. So now the next stage or the next step is the roasting. So roasting is again the heating or burning. So here in absence of the ore, in absence of the student, here the roasting is the process where the concentrated ore is then roasted in furnace in presence of oxygen. So when it is roasted, then the sulfur that is present in the, if the sulfur is present in the ore, arsenic, antimony are converted to its corresponding oxide. So sulfur will be converted to sulfur dioxide and arsenic will be converted to the arsenic oxide and etc. So if you think about the copper pyrites, then it will be by roasting process or presence of the oxygen, it will be converted to the cuprous sulfide, that is Cu2s, and then ferrous sulfide, then sulfur dioxide. So ultimately we can separate the copper and iron from the ores, and they are in the sulfide form. So now, as there is a presence of the oxygen thing is happening, so cuprous sulfide and ferrous sulfide are further oxidized into their oxide. So here the cuprous sulfide is converted to the cuprous oxide, and iron is converted to the ferrous oxide. So ultimately they are converted to corresponding oxide. So this is the process of the roasting in diagram. So here at the right hand side we supply some oxygen, then copper concentrate we inserting in the furnace or actually heating tub. Then the sulfur dioxide is eliminated, if you look here, by gaseous. Then the slag will be eliminated, and matte, that is the concentrate ore, is collected in other tank. So this is the very simplified picture of roasting of copper ore. Now smelting, that is smelting means, that is again it is a burning. It is done in presence of coke and sand. So roasted ore is then mixed with coke and sand and is fed into a blast furnace. Blast furnace is the furnace which can at where the high temperature can be achieved. So in the hot air converts FeO to the iron silicate. So here FeO and SiO2 is reacted and become converted to FeSiO3, that is silicate salt of iron, and it is eliminated from the mixture as a slag. So that is impurity. And also there will be another reaction is also possible, that is cuprous oxide is reacted with the ferrous sulfide and it is again formed the cuprous sulfide and ferrous oxide. So ferrous oxide is again reacted with the silica and then again it is formed the silicate and it is removed as a slag. So slag float over the molten matte of copper. So now is the final stage, or basically the very important stage, that is decimmerization. So here the matte, that is the concentrated ore, basically after removing the iron and other thing, or some presence of the iron also present. So here the matte contain cuprous sulfide and some unreacted FeO along with silica as impurity. So ultimately we are introduce a material that contain copper, the sulfide of copper, then oxide of the iron and some silica into the blast furnace. So the thing is will be happen is like that, it is converted into copper in a special furnace which is known as Bessemer converter. So in this case this is specifically called Bessemer converter or Bessemer furnace. When air is blown through the matte at a high temperature, then the following reaction will be takes place. So at high temperature this type of the reaction will be takes place. So here if you look here, and the reaction, these are very important. That is cuprous sulfide or the sulfide salt of copper reacted with the oxygen and it form cuprous oxide. And again, cuprous oxide is reacted with the cuprous sulfide and it form copper. So this two reaction is called auto oxidation because auto reduction. So here copper is first converted to the cuprous oxide, then cuprous oxide and cupric cuprous sulfide both are reacted and they are converted to the copper. So that's why it is auto reduction. So because they are compound are reacted with each other and they form copper. This is called self reduction or auto reduction. So here again the FeS and oxygen is converted to the FeO and again it is reacted with the silica and it forms slag. So the copper so obtained is called, that is here the copper, that is free copper, the element is obtained is called blister copper because it is again it is not 100% pure because as it is solidifies, SO2 is hidden in the escape and out of the blister, so there will be lots of hole will be present in this solid thing, so that's why it's called blister. So blister copper is named as like this, as there will be lots of holes are present. So this is the picture of Bessemer converter, that is you are seeing that there will be a entry of air and slag and other thing, molten tray. So at this will be heated at a high temperature, then we'll get our product, that is our metal. So impurities in blister copper. So last stage is the refining to get 100% copper. So blister copper is 99% pure but not 100%. So it contains impurities like iron, arsenic, zinc, lead, silver and gold. So these impurities adversely affect the electrical as well as the mechanical properties of the copper. Yes, if the impurity is present, there will be lots of problem in the metal. So now yes, the refining of the blister copper is required. So in this case we use the electrolysis. So here in this electrolysis we use blister copper as anode and pure copper as cathode, and as a electrolyte we use copper sulfate solution with a little amount of the sulfuric acid. Then if we supply some electricity, that is then now due to the passage of the electricity, that is the copper Cu2 plus will be deposited on the cathode, and from the blister copper, or that is from the anode, the copper will become into the solution as a Cu2 plus. So time by time the thickness of the cathode will be decreases and the thickness of the copper in the cathode is increases. So again I am saying, please note it, the thickness of the blister copper, that is anode, will be decreases and the concentration or actually thickness of the copper in cathode increases, and ultimately we get 100% pure, that is ultra pure copper in the cathode. So this is the reaction which is involved in the electrolysis. That is, it anode copper is converted to the Cu2 plus, that is oxidation, and at cathode Cu2 plus from the solution come to the cathode and accept 2 electron, and it is form copper. It is a pure copper. So in this process we can get electrically refined copper, and its percentage is completely 100% pure. So this is the picture or diagram for the electrolysis of the to get or it is called electrolytic refining. And here by means of the electrolysis we can get 100% copper during the extraction of the copper from its ore. Here this is a picture of pure copper, and we can make a coin by copper. And yes, there will be lots of example of use. The lots of uses are present of the copper in our everyday life. So student, that's all for today. So hope you all are enjoyed the class and satisfied with class. And you again, I'm saying, if you have any kind of queries or difficulties, then you ask me without any hesitation. So thank you very much.